wherever you are and whenever you are, welcome, good souls, to Paranormal Now. Join us as we traverse the cosmic highway of paranormal portals and tantalizing turnoffs. Thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight on this special full moon Halloween night. Yes, it is a full moon tonight in 2020 on Halloween, as we all celebrate virtually together. Tonight we have open spooky lines. So we're doing something I've never done before on Paranormal Now. Rather than the last half hour being open lines to ask a guest your question, I'm inviting you to be the guest tonight. So at 8:30, we're going to open up the Paranormal Radio app lines. And that number is 85-KGRA Live or 855-472-5483. So all you have to do is call in and just share any creepy, scary, spooky story that you have. So whether it is a ghost encounter, cryptid, UFO, near-death experience, whatever it is, come on, share, and then your name will be entered to win free KGRA merchandise, including a t-shirt, a coffee mug, which I am happy about. Can I get everyone? And a beanie as well. Eric from KGRA thought it was beanie season, so we should throw in a beanie there. So we're doing that as well. So those three gifts will be sent to you if you call in and enter your name. And so the way this will work is at the end of the night, I'll have your names literally on pieces of paper on camera on YouTube and Facebook, and I will throw them into a glass. And from that glass, I will at random pick out a name. So it's totally fair. You'll see me do it, and then we'll have the winner picked out at the end of the night. But again, this is your night. This is our night. This is just a night to celebrate all the things that we love about creepiness and the paranormal. And to boot, starting us off before that, in the first quarter of the show, is my own father, and he will be discussing the history of paranormal. But very quickly, I wanted to get Renee Barnett on here to share a little bit about the Dark Zone. Renee, are you there?
Hi there. Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween. So, Renee, tell us about the Dark Zone.
Oh, my goodness. Well, the Dark Zone is a site, a sort of a paranormal portal online. We're also television producers. So we've done a lot of paranormal television, Ghost Hunters International, Ghost Minds, and Ghost Everything. And what we're doing right now and what developed really out of the pandemic and the necessity to try to find something to do. You know, we said, what can we do to entertain people while people are largely staying at home? So a few months ago, we developed a platform for a live streaming event from the real Conjuring house, the house that was portrayed in the movie The Conjuring.
Right. Yeah.
And then we did another event a couple months later from the Lizzie Borden murder house. And we are in the midst of our biggest event ever. In fact, this is the biggest night of our event, and we're doing a 4-day, 24-hour-a-day broadcast from the Queen Mary, the most haunted ship in the world. Mm-hmm. And right now, the only people that are on board the ship are us, teams of paranormal investigators, and the spirits. So we've got a huge show going on. We're having a huge party with bands. I think tonight we've got Visto Blanco and Filter, and we've got some other celebrities coming on board to actually participate in the ghost hunts. We've got Chad Lindbergh from The Supernatural, and we have Britton Buchanan from The Voice, and he's just amazing. And he's going to perform a trigger song to start the paranormal activity, because we understand the spirits like the old standard Skylark. So he's going to be performing that live on the show tonight to try to get the spirits stirred up.
So you must be super busy.
Oh my gosh, it's just been so wild. I mean, we've been preparing for this now, for a few months, and we're a very small team. So, and by the way, I want to say much appreciation to KGRA for supporting us and allowing me to talk about the event. It's been really wonderful, and we hope we've been able to support you guys a little bit too. We gave special thanks last night and played the KGRA promo, and of course we had Jimmy Church on live doing his first ever ghost hunt on the Queen Mary.
And what about your show, Night Vision?
Oh, Night Vision. That is coming up on KGRA. These guys have been kind enough to invite me on to relaunch my old radio show called Night Vision. I've been on hiatus for about a year. And so we're going to be launching on 11/11 at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And that will be that way every week. We'll be on every Wednesday night, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And I'm going to be having some great help from my good friend, historian, Dr. James Martin. And we're going to be untwisting history. So we're going to be exploring the dark annals of the past and trying to sort out what's truth and what's fiction, and chasing a few mysteries as we do it.
All right, Renee, thank you so much for coming on and updating us.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Just go to thedarkzone.tv if you want to get on the event. We've got 2 more full days, and you can see the replays of everything that's happened before. Thank you so much.
All right, Renee, take care.
Happy Halloween, everybody.
Happy Halloween. All right. So that was Renee Barnett. Please check out the Dark Zone when you get a chance. And now I bring on the one and only father of mine, because I only have one father, unlike some of us, but that's a long story. We won't go into that tonight. Colonel Alan R. Smith, United States Marine Corps retired, was born in New York City. He served with ground, air, combat service support, and headquarters elements during his active and reserve career. Upon graduation from St. Joseph High School, he enlisted in the Marine Corps in July 1967. After returning from Vietnam, Corporal Smith continued his education at Glassboro State College, where he met his future wife, Barbara. He graduated in 1973 with a Bachelor of Arts Degree and completed his Master of Arts Degree in History, and was commissioned a second lieutenant in March 1975. Colonel Smith completed his Marine Corps career after returning from Iraq in 2004, retiring in 2005. He has taught Western civilization as a professor at Ocean County College and Georgian Court University. His civilian career was happily spent in New Jersey, a 5th grade classroom. He coached Little League and youth basketball teams. In September 2011, the Assistant Secretary of Defense for Reserve Affairs appointed Colonel Smith State Chairman, New Jersey Employer Support of the Guard and Reserve. Colonel Smith is a volunteer deputy coordinator with the Stafford Township Office of Emergency Management. In addition, he sits on the Board of Directors New Jersey chapter of the Red Cross. He has earned multiple Presidential Gold Volunteer Service Awards. He was awarded the Secretary of Defense Medal for Exceptional Public Service, and in October 2014 was presented with the State of New Jersey Meritorious Medal for Public Service, and the 2017 recipient of the Red Cross Pace Setter Award, the 2020 Regional Award for Volunteerism. Colonel Smith served as an elected councilman in Stafford Township, New Jersey. His published historical fiction, Enchantments of the Hag Lady, Ancient Lands, Wonders, Adventures, is targeted for all ages, telling them they can, through dogged determination, overcome any roadblock and achieve success. Alan and his wife Barbara recently returned from Red Cross and volunteer shelter duty in Oregon in support of wildfire evacuees as of late. Hey, Dad.
Well, hello. My goodness, it's wonderful to be on.
Yeah, I'm glad you're on.
Thank you very much.
So we're going to be, speaking of the history of Halloween, where do we start?
Well, I think we start with today and then move backward and then jump forward again. So first, let me say hello and happy Halloween to all you trick-or-treaters, ghouls, goblins listening to the show. The town where Alan grew up here in Mount Hawken, New Jersey, Halloween is a big event in the homes and in businesses. The lawns are covered with black and orange. Some have blow-up monsters. Others have graveyard headstones. And there's always the spider web and caskets on the front porch. And I think this Halloween tradition is particularly important this year, and is actually a welcomed friend.
Is it you mean because of the pandemic? It's particularly important.
Yes, I think it gives everyone a chance to lighten up, to loosen up, and I think that is really what makes Halloween an atypical holiday. Other than the free candy, I particularly care for the miniature M&M peanut packets, which which kind of find their way from my granddaughter's basket to my pockets, but that's another story.
I think it's a family problem, M&M peanuts.
What Halloween does is it lets us loosen up, toss aside our daily tasks, forget about the bills, turn off the TV, and be someone or something else. And I don't know, an alternate persona donned by mask and costume. Or folks just get a kick out of sitting at the front door and watching the trick-or-treaters come and dropping things into their bags. My guess for most listeners, at least on my part, and for Uncle Fred, who I think is listening, it wouldn't be a Halloween unless you watched Charles Schulz's the Great Pumpkin, leading up to a bountiful night of sugary delights.
Yeah, I think that's a must. Exactly. Yep.
It is. Teenagers and Halloween, they just have to go hand in hand. It's a chance for the teenagers to get out of the house, ignore the homework on their computers, maybe hold the hands of their younger brothers and sisters or neighbors. Speaking of, on your screen right now, in the tall clown costume, that's my daughter Jen, and that's your host right there, Alan, in the clown costume.
Yep, I look exactly the same, and I still have that costume.
Well, we recycle costumes through our family many times. In fact, that costume that Jen was wearing, we turned into a pirate's outfit many years later. For some youngsters, getting ready for Halloween requires weeks of planning. There are a lot of things to be considered. The costume, who is it? Who do I want to be?
But that's what it is with kids and adults. Is there any difference there?
No. During Halloween, we're all the same. There is no difference. Absolutely. I think one of the things that kids worry about is what costume they're going to wear, and will mom or dad declare it too weird or too scary? But they power through.
What was your favorite costume? Do you remember?
I do. I know that I wore a Davy Crockett coonskin hat and vest, and I also recall wearing a large tin sheriff's badge, just like Wyatt Earp used to wear when he was a sheriff. Kids, especially in the early 50s and 60s, just like today, they wore their favorite movie and TV character, or an athlete. So you might have put on a jersey, a baseball cap, or football helmet. You might have been a cowboy, a nurse, Raggedy Ann. And then later on, as we moved through the 50s and 60s, things changed a bit. There were Ninja Turtles, astronauts, Spock, Transformers. And for the folks out there, you saw Alan in his younger days as a clown, but he was also a Smurf. Try and put that on. He was also a pirate and a skeleton. There he is. There's wearing the same costume that his sister wore, but years later. There he is. He's right in the middle there.
Because that's how we did it back then.
that is.
I mean, it really wasn't in the 80s. It wasn't like it is now when you go into the store and there's just walls of costumes, much of which are pretty inexpensive. Back then, so many people made costumes.
Yeah, and I don't know about the rest of the listeners, but every year, somewhere around the end of August, beginning of September, magically in an abandoned storefront, a Halloween store shows up.
Yes, pop-up store. Yeah.
Yeah, and it is just packed full of costumes and wigs and every imaginable need that you would have. And then, November 1st, it just disappears.
But how did we get to this place? Because for us, it's fun. We love trick-or-treating. We love taking on different personas, the pretend aspect of it. But is there any more meaning behind it besides the entertainment value of it?
Absolutely. One of the things that we have to think about, just back to costumes.
Sure.
I know Alan's wife, she dressed as a judge, and my beautiful wife, Barbara, she was a giant Hershey Kiss. So that was, what we do. So the, trick-or-treating tradition, going out in costume, on Halloween night really found its way to America through the European immigrants. The origin remains a bit murky, but traces can be identified in ancient Celtic festivals, early Roman Catholic holidays, and medieval practices. To get to the roots of Halloween, I think what we need to do in 2020 in this moment, and try, as impossible as it is, jump in that DeLorean with Marty, Dr. Brown, and Einstein, and let's go back a couple millennia. And what we would find is, the Celts of Ireland, Scotland, northern France. For them, October 31st was the end of their year. And they believed that the dead returned to Earth on that sacred night. And it was called Samhain, when people gathered to light bonfires, offer sacrifices, and pay homage to the dead. And during that time, I think what we have to do is, if we can put on those costumes and think about how folks lived then. There was no TV, there was not the internet, all that we had. For a moment, if you can recall the opening segment, the opening scenes of Braveheart, and you look at that village. Well, it took 1,000 years for that village to become a village, because from hunters and gatherers, to herders and then farmers, it took a while. And while all this is happening, their traditions are starting to change a little bit. One of the things that the Celts were worried about during the night of Samhain was when the dead rose, from their graves and came back to visit. Well, they could have been visiting just to check on their families. They could have been causing turmoil, or even, they were afraid that they might even a score.
It kind of cuts both ways, I guess.
It does.
It still does these days.
And from the costuming side, villagers often disguise themselves in skins, animal skins, so that these phantom visitors would not recognize them. They also put out banquet tables with food to hopefully distract these unwelcome spirits. As the centuries moved on, people began dressing as the ghosts and spirits, and performed antics in exchange for food. And so that's
like the whole trick thing?
Yeah, well, yeah, and we'll get into more of the tricking, but that was it. It was called mumming in the Middle Ages by the time we reached there, and it really was the early trick or treating.
So when you did a trick, it was more of like for entertainment, not like, because I always thought it was like either I'm going to do something bad to you or you give me candy. But that's not what it was.
Well, it eventually, and I'll get to that in a little while, it eventually evolved to that. So by the 9th century, Christianity had spread to the Celtic lands, and they wherever the Christian gospel went, they took the native or the indigenous peoples, and in this case the Celtic festivals, and they intertwined Catholic pieces to it. So, All Hallows Night, which honored the saints and the martyrs of the Catholic Church, eventually will become All Saints. And then All Hallows Eve, as we know, became Halloween. So, all of those pieces kind of wrap themselves together. Now, poor people visited as the cities and towns grew. The poor folks, they went to wealthier families, and they would receive pastries, and these were called soul cakes. And what the person receiving the cake would do would pray for the souls of the dead relatives of the wealthy.
So the original soul food.
Yes, good point. Yeah, and that was called souling. In Ireland, the tradition called guising, as in disguising, dressing in costumes, and accepting offerings from various households. But rather than pledging to pray for the dead, they would sing, recite a poem, tell a joke, or perform some sort of acrobatic piece before collecting fruits, nuts, or maybe a coin. But so when did, and I'll just kind of move forward because I can see the clock is ticking here. Our European ancestors, they brought to America, they brought the religious, their culinary, their music, and all of their family traditions with them. And once those cultures began to become established inside of our large cities, they now became a part of the American tapestry. Although we don't really know precisely when the phrase trick or treat was coined in the United States, we can first find it in print in a 1927 Michigan newspaper, along with the custom of mischief night pranks. Now, this is getting back, Alan, to what you said earlier. The Great Depression made these trick problems serious business. They all often turned into vandalism and sporadic acts of violence. One theory suggests that excessive Halloween pranks, vilified by local municipalities, adopted organized community-based trick-or-treating in the 30s. But this trend was brought to an abrupt halt with the outbreak of World War II, when simultaneously sugar rationing.
But there still is some truth then to that, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I know my mother, growing up in New York City, she said that when she was a youngster, they would fill socks with flour, and then they would run down the street, and folks, she said police officers especially wore these heavy winter wool coats, and they would run down the street and they would swing their sock and whack people with them, and they just keep on running. And they
flour.
Yeah,
I just imagine these like puff balls, throughout down the street, right?
Now, Forrest Mars, a New Jersey candy maker, he developed a candy-covered chocolate in 1941 for the American troops,
right?
That could maintain its integrity in all climates, and were included in the American military rations. You know those, or we know those as M&Ms today.
I associate Reese's Pieces with Halloween because of the E.T. movie. Speaking of, because and the story behind that is the M&M Mars company was offered to be featured in the film. And they said, this is what's going to happen. This kid's going to tempt ET with candy. And they were like, we have no idea what you're talking about. Get out of the office. Just, So Steven Spielberg and company went to Reese's, and it was a big, huge boon for Reese's. And that was like what made their name. And I have an affinity for Reese's Pieces because of that movie. And the movie, on one of the days it takes place on Halloween. And so for me personally, Reese's Pieces, Halloween, M&M's, Christmas.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
But peanut M&Ms all year round.
Oh, yeah. I my poor grandchildren, they just don't know how this disappears from their bags.
It's a funny thing.
Yeah. And also, for the folks out there, I did that to Alan because he would come home. He would dump his candy on the kitchen table, and then he would start separating the candy. Well, of course, I would, cause him to be distracted, and M&M peanuts would leave the table. But
this is like decades before Jimmy Kimmel was doing his what is that called? Where the parents pretend to eat all the candy. I forget what it's called.
Yeah,
but yeah.
Yeah,
well, you were always a little bit of a prankster anyway. Yeah, just a good sense of humor.
Well, you have to laugh.
Yeah.
So after World War II, the soldiers and other folks coming home, they loved the candies. Other candy entrepreneurs, they realized that what America wanted, and then now that sugar was available, and post-war sweets was underway.
Yeah.
I know you had up a little piece there, picture of Huey, Dewey, and Louie.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that came right after Charles Schulz put in Peanuts trick-or-treating comic strip. And then what follows is, and this is pretty funny here, is Huey, Dewey, and Louie. They are being pranked by their Uncle Donald, and they enlist this witch to help them out. Now, that great pumpkin that we were talking about,
yeah.
It really doesn't hit, and we think it's earlier, but it doesn't hit TV until 1966. And by this time, the baby boom is us boomers. It is underway, and Halloween and trick-or-treating has become just very, very important.
To the point that we start to dress up our cats.
Well, hello, Maya.
For everyone who doesn't know, this is our cat Maya, dressed up as a Viking in the tradition of this holiday.
I guess that makes her my grand cat.
It does, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that's official.
So what had happened, certainly by the 60s into the 70s and 80s, on Halloween Day, schools were having Halloween parties, parents, grandparents, coming in through the front door, helping teachers out, getting everybody dressed for the Halloween hallway parade or at the gym auditorium. And what was always nice is teachers always had bags with some extra wigs and hats and maybe a sheet so those folks that did not show up with a costume could, participate.
Well, why do you think people are so enchanted by Halloween? That why do they love? Why do we watch scary movies and eerie and mysterious cartoons or books or whatever?
Well, I think there's two parts to that. One is, as in paranormal, many folks are very interested in the unknown. There are things that they're not sure if they want to believe it, but it's out there. And of course, there's something about, for some folks, they love to get scared. Other people, they run into the closet and are afraid. But so folks out there, one of the things that Alan and I were talking about last week, and is the apple bobbing tradition. Today it would be considered a disease Super Bowl. But we did it in scouts. We did it in schools or parties. You went in, your mouth wide open. You're oftentimes your entire head went below the water line, and you would rise up with an apple in your mouth, and it had bite marks from other kids that had tried to grab it.
Yeah, I don't know if kids do that.
I don't think so.
Not this year, but in previous years of late.
Yeah, no, I don't think they do. I don't know. I guess I have to call up somebody.
What about my nieces? I guess they don't. They don't.
No, that's definitely not
happening.
Yeah. So let me just finish off,
sure,
because I know we're over time here. Today retailers displayed holiday decorations. Whether it's Costco or Lowe's or Walmart by midsummer, and those things are just bought up. And Americans spend 2.6 billion on candy for Halloween. And it has become the nation's second largest commercial holiday for decorating and candy.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing.
So let me just say thank you, folks, for listening. Thank you, Alan, for having me. And, if you have Halloween stories, maybe not even just scary stories, but, something that's interesting about how you dressed up or some, off-the-wall fun event, call in, see if you can get yourself a mug or some other prize. So happy All Hallows Eve, folks.
Yeah, thank you, Dad, so much for coming on tonight. And for everybody listening, if you're interested in Alan R. Smith's book, Enchantments of the Hag Lady, Ancient Lands, Wonders, Adventures, just go to Amazon and type in Enchantments of the Hag Lady, and the novel will pop up. Dad, I love you. Thank you so much for doing this, and happy Halloween.
Okay.
Oh, are those your drawings behind us?
They are. I figured I had to do a little decorating. So the witch's hat, which you can't see it from here, but it says, "May the witch be with you."
That's brilliant. Well, and that's what I like about that Disney cartoon, and it popularized Halloween, is that the witch really isn't the evil person. It's really Donald Duck. That's the antagonist.
That's true. Yeah.
So it kind of turned things on its head very early. It's very surprising. All right. Well, that's it. Thanks, Dad.
Okay.
Yes. So everybody, please call in when we come back on this other side and share your creepy Halloween, spooky, cryptid, ghost encounter, whatever it is. Call in, share your story, and we'll enter you to win a KGRA t-shirt, mug, and a beanie as well. So what you want to do is call the KGRA line, the Paranormal Radio app line, and that is 855-472-5483 or 85-KGRA live. So we're going to take a quick break. When we come back on the flip side, this is all you. It's your story. It's your night. Call in and let's hear what you have to share with us all. If not, then I guess I'll be sharing stories of my own. This is Alan B. Smith for Paranormal Now on KGRA Radio. We will see you shortly.
Mainstream media's most wanted. KGRAradio.com.
The future, comments of efforts to
Hello, welcome back to Paranormal Now. This is Alan B. Smith. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you're listening on kgraradio.com or on YouTube or on Facebook, the KGRA pages for each. And the music taking us out of the break was by Septembrio, spelled with a Y. If you want to find out more about Septembrio, go to septembrio.com. All right, folks, this is it. It's an hour and a half of just you and me. The lines are open. So we need you to call in, and that number is 1-85-KGRA Live or 855-472-5483. So if you call in, you enter to win a free KGRA mug, coffee mug, t-shirt, and a beanie. Do people wear beanies? I guess they do, right? If you wear a beanie, please comment down below in the comments on YouTube and Facebook. I'd like to see. But if you win, you're getting a beanie anyway. So I'm going to go to our first caller here, and we've got Ron. You are on the air.
Hi, Alan. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
It was nice to meet your dad. Nice to meet your dad, and a happy Halloween to you.
Yeah, thanks. You too.
I'm happy. I haven't figured that out. I've been trying to figure out the happy part of Halloween. I'm enjoying the research of the different things that I've been involved with, and getting to know some people that ordinarily I wouldn't even bother taking time to talk, just because their story is a little bit weird, you know. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yep.
No? Okay. I didn't know. So anyway, I don't really have a scary story, but I got some stories that are relative to my house in a personal sense. And I have a house on the postage stamp, as we like to say. And it's in the middle of a bunch of cornfields in a small town. Mm-hmm. And I have noises and things happening in the house that I can't explain. For instance, I've had doors slamming. You know, in the basement, there are no doors in the basement. What that was from, I have no clue, and I really didn't go down to investigate it.
Did it happen just one time, or was it multiple times?
No, it's happened several times, and I've had people upstairs when there was nobody there, and there were people that were up there playing, or kids playing, or walking around upstairs, which there was no way for them to do that. Then I had an old stove, which I wasted. I didn't waste, but I spent $600 on a new stove, you know, cooking stove and oven and things like that, you know. And the old one, though, the buzzer would go off by itself. Now, the old one was an old Maytag, and you had to push the buzzer in and turn it. You know what I'm talking about? The old push-in dial for the buzzer. Mm-hmm. And that happened, and it went off like twice or three times. I can't remember, 2 or 3 times. And the one time that I noticed it went off, the next day I saw a funeral procession go into the cemetery up on the hill, or at the edge of town here. And I was like, well, that's kind of weird. I wonder if he was trying to tell me something by turning on the alarm. I don't know why he would. Now,
was that? Do you think a repeatable pattern? Was that something that happened every time there was a funeral?
I think it was every time that somebody died, but I'm not really sure. I can't verify that. Okay. All I know is that the alarm on the stove was going off, and I said, that's it. This thing is gone. I got that thing out of my house and it's on my back deck, but I got the new stove and no problem with the alarm going off now because I can't figure out the buttons, I guess. But I have had lights turn on and off by themselves. Mm-hmm. Tracy Austin was talking about that on an older show. And so I've had that happen here. And I saw, one time I saw the shadow of a man, kind of like what you would say that shadow person or a hat man or whatever you want to call it. It wasn't really an ugly or scary looking guy. It was just, I saw a shadow just for a split second in the corner of my eye. And then, bam, it was gone when you looked. You know what I'm saying? That kind of thing. And so I just knew that something was there. And I always feel as though someone is watching me, and we got a lot of people that we know, that some I've met personally, some I know through Bill's chat, that can do the remote viewing and things like that and different things. Mm-hmm. And people are into this paranormal stuff that can do some of this activity. So I don't know if it's them playing tricks on my mind or something like that, or if it's me just trying to overthink something, and so I don't know, that's part of what I wanted to go with on a question of where do these noises come from? Like you hear, like I even smelled cigarette smoke before.
Well, right? when you've heard noises, have you ever felt a vibration along with them?
The door slamming, yes, I did.
You did?
Yeah. There was one particular time there was something that dropped really heavy upstairs. Nobody was upstairs, but it sounded like a giant hammer or something was being dropped on the floor. Mm-hmm. And it was coming through the floor and gonna hit me in the head, but there was nothing there. Okay. My friend was upstairs, but he didn't drop the hammer, but he came running downstairs, taking, this particular time he was up there, but he come downstairs to see if I fell out of the chair down here, because that would make a lot of noise, right? And I'm sitting here and watching him running down, and I heard the boom. I had my headphones on, so I didn't know what I was hearing. So I pulled my headphones off, and I was trying to figure out what was going on. And then he come running around the corner and coming downstairs. And, well, did you fall out of your chair? And I said, no, I was trying to figure out what that sound was too. So we both heard that. So that's two people that heard that same sound, okay? I didn't really feel any vibration because, again, I had my headphones on, so I couldn't really, I was paying attention to my headphones. And then, but then I've seen, we both saw another episode, we both saw an orange orb in the backyard, okay, about the size of a basketball, maybe the color of orange too as well. But it was,
wait, you both saw this?
Kind of like, yes, we both saw this at the same time. He was upstairs looking out the upstairs window. I was on the kitchen floor looking out the balcony window, and we both saw the same orange orb floating along, like it was just gliding along, no problem. Nothing evil or bad feeling about it or anything like that. But I have heard of orb sightings in this area. Now, I'll give you a little clue as to where I'm at. We are in the town that has the historic site with the petroglyphs. Okay, this is a National Historic Site. And it's anywhere from 7,500 to 10,000 years old for that site. Okay, that's how they dated it for those drawings and things like that are on that historical site. So,
well, do you think the spirits from so long ago could still be around?
Well, that's what I was wondering. Why would they be hanging around? I mean, what am I doing to make them agitated? Am I doing something to make them agitated? I don't know. Or are they just trying to give me a message? I know, like some people have said that my mom was into birds. She was the part of the Audubon Society in California. And so she's really big on birds, and you can ask her anything, and she can tell you anything about any kind of bird. And so I'm fascinated with birds as well. That's just a natural progression in that. And so I think I see birds, I recognize birds. I don't know about the ghost hunting thing, though. I don't think that anyone's involved with ghost hunting.
Okay.
So I don't know.
So that's weird. Well, it's interesting because it seems to me the most ghosts that are eyewitnessed, at least, seem to be from within a more modern period, right? Like the last 500, maybe 1,000, 2,000 years. But it seems to me really within like the past 1,000 years or so. Like that doesn't go much further back than that. That kind of indicates to me that maybe ghosts have the ability eventually to find their way. If indeed they are lost, or does it just work out? Are we somehow actually helping them? So maybe our predecessors from 200-300 years ago, were they helping those spirits pass on? And so as time goes on, little by little, they're being helped or guided.
Yeah, maybe. All right. Well, thank you for a fun show, and I seem to enjoy this season a little bit more, even with this whole year we had kind of a mix-up year, But this seems to be a great time to have a get-together and be part of a show, be part of a call-in, and have other things happening, and just be a big family and just extend our family, all over the place, and just have a good time. And I enjoy the opportunity. Thank you for having the lines open. And thank you, Bill, for taking the calls, and Alan for having this contest. So.
Yeah, thanks so much, Ron. I really appreciate it. And this is Ron from ERT Radio, ERRT. If anybody's curious, you can go check that out. And Ron, I always appreciate your call every week as well. All right, so we're going to open up those lines for you again all night long, nonstop, before, middle, and after. The spooky lines are open. So call in and you enter to win a free KJRA t-shirt and coffee mug. That number is 1-855-472-5483. That's 855-472-5483 or 85-KGRA live. And so that's something that I've thought about quite a bit. How is it? There are certain limitations, it seems, depending on which field, we're exploring. I was watching a little bit of Chris DiPerno's Project Aries before tonight's show. And this idea that the argument that whether Bigfoot is just, this primate that's been lost to human knowledge, something that we're unaware of, and it's just hiding in the woods, versus does it have some kind of metaphysical ability? I mean, can it just simply disappear? And I always remember that scene in Harry and the Hendersons where, you're looking at this wide shot of the woods and it just looks like the woods. And then within just a few moments, you see how these big Sasquatch family members, different sizes and ages, appear out of the forest, and they're just so brilliantly hidden. Is that something of a sort of magic, or is that just amazing camouflage and knowledge of how to hide in the forest? And can you do that? Can you survive hiding like that? After decades of people searching for you, or is there a magic ability there? And magic's a loose term, right? When we say magic, probably we're speaking of something interdimensional. This is what some people say. They've experienced some strange phenomena, orbs, UFO sightings that occur around some of these Bigfoot sightings as well. Or is that just coincidental? In fact, if Bigfoot is nothing more than just a primate that's been lost to history, can people be attracted to attracting odd phenomena, let's say like orbs or spirits or anything paranormal, because they're projecting onto this thing as a paranormal experience, when in fact it's really not, but they're just bringing the state of mind which contributes to the occurrence of the appearance of UFOs or orbs. I don't know. All right, we have our second call on the line. Fred from Michigan, you are on the air.
Al, a little while ago, Colonel Smith referred to an Uncle Fred. Well, I'm the Uncle Fred, but to let people know, I'm not your crazy uncle.
Definitely not.
You guys were talking about, costumes and what you wore on Halloween.
Yeah.
My little story was one that I think almost got me into a little trouble. It was, and I'm dating myself, we have to go back to the early 1960s. There was a town Halloween parade that was held at the Lavallette, New Jersey firehouse. And as you know, on Halloween, a lot of the stores have masks of notable people. And this episode involved me and two brothers. I wore a Fidel Castro mask, and dressed in my stripped down Boy Scout uniform. No pins, no neckerchief. Because, Fidel, always wore those military fatigues. I wanted to make it as plain as possible. And I carried what my brother Frank remembered as a toy plastic Luger. My second youngest brother, Blaine, wore a Nikita Khrushchev mask. And he had on a oversized winter coat, the kind with the fur-lined or wool-lined lapels that were turned out. And so Nikita and Fidel, marched around in the parade in the firehouse. And as we hugged each other, because, like Khrushchev liked to hug people, my youngest brother, Frank, had on a John F. Kennedy mask, wore a little suit, and as Nikita and Fidel hugged each other, he would bop us on the head with a plastic bat, much to the amusement of the people. Now,
and not to you.
after that parade, I heard that the Cub Master, head of the Cub Scout pack, who was like a by-the-book kind of leader, didn't like the idea that I used my Boy Scout uniform as a costume. Because there were rules that you shouldn't disrespect the uniform, use it inappropriately, and so forth. But the Scoutmaster was more of a laid-back personality and didn't object. And so I didn't get into trouble. Alan,
So
I have a second story, if I may.
Yeah. Go ahead.
And this is Halloween-ish. And it has to do with that famous radio broadcast, the War of the Worlds program.
Yes. Yep.
Broadcast October 30th, 1938, which was the eve of All Hallows Eve. I figure I could tell this story because I think Orson Welles created that and broadcast that program. If he had his druthers, he would have broadcast the show on Halloween the next day, which was a Monday that year. But his program, the Mercury Theater, was on Sundays then. Now, I'm not going to get into the whole thing about the War of the Worlds. A lot of people have written a lot of stuff about it. It's based on the H.G. Wells, and they spell the names differently, and I don't think there's any, family connection there.
Okay.
The novel in 1898. The show had fictional news bulletins interrupt another program to report a Martian invasion at Grover's Mill, New Jersey, and the death and destruction that resulted. Now, there were reports of widespread confusion, even panic, by people who failed to hear the beginning of that show, where there was a disclaimer saying, this is fake. But in the end, there were a lot of people who were left upset. So let's go, I think almost 40 years later, I'm working for a newspaper, the Asbury Park Press. Our Sunday editor liked to assign stories that were offbeat and quirky. So he assigns a reporter in my office, a veteran reporter, to go to Grover's Mill, New Jersey, which is not a town itself, but it's part of West Windsor Township near Princeton, New Jersey. And to, talk to the people, report and get a retrospective on how they feel about it now and so forth. You'd still, this is like 40 years later, but you would still have people living who were children at the time of the broadcast and saw what was going on there. And of course, descendants of people who may have panicked. And the funny thing is, the reporter, Dan Clay, I remember him coming back and saying, there's people there who don't want to talk about this War of the Worlds broadcast.
Yeah.
Apparently, some people felt a stigma that they were seen as being naive and that they were taken in by this phony broadcast.
Oh, I thought about that, the stigma aspect of it. That is interesting.
Yeah, but they, how can you be so stupid to find?
Right.
And now, in the early 2000s, I saw a New York Times article where a treasurer for the West Windsor Historical Society acknowledged this. She said that these people were farmers, and when it happened, this was a farming community they didn't understand. I'm quoting her. They never had any newspaper stories about them. Mm-hmm. Afterward, they were very quiet. It took them a long time to talk about it. Well, by the time that story was written, the community got over the stigma, embraced its history. They even put a 7.5-foot bronze plaque memorial in a park. It depicted a flying saucer, Orson Welles behind a microphone, and frightened listeners. And it's funny, just to show how this became, I guess, somewhat of a tourist attraction.
Yeah, but that's what happens, Fred, with so many different locations and events. At first, there's the stigma. People don't want to be associated with it. And then in time, they sort of embrace it. And then you do have fairs or tourist attractions and that sort of thing.
Oh, yes, because you mentioned fairs. And yes, every, whatever 10th anniversary of this, there's an event. There's a celebration about this. Yeah. I didn't know what happened in Roswell in the beginning, but yeah, Roswell is now big.
All right, we're just about at 9 o'clock, Uncle Fred. Do you want to leave us with anything else before I switch over?
Only that there's a Grover's Mill coffee company that has an invasion roast.
Right.
Just as part of it. So it shows how time heals all wounds, and don't underestimate, the capability of entrepreneurship to seize a commercial opportunity.
Yes, indeed. And now I have to try that coffee.
I now return to our normally scheduled program.
All right. Thanks, Uncle Fred. I really appreciate it.
Okay.
All right. Happy Halloween. Have a good night.
Right. Bye.
All right. Heidi Hollis. Guess who's stopping by? How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you? I'm at a wonderful anniversary Halloween get together. It's my friend Diana's first wedding anniversary.
We're having a Halloween party.
Well,
remember what I said about the ear?
I'm assuming you're wearing masks, though I can't see very well.
Can you see my mask?
I can. Yes.
Yes.
All right.
See what I'm dressed up as?
Absolutely not.
Okay, hold on. Let me get in the light. You can't see me.
So, everybody, this is Heidi Hollis joining us. If you're just listening and not watching, you are Dr. Hero. Oh, that's awesome. That is fantastic, Heidi. You're kind of a hero yourself, and you've worked in. Hey, wow, it's so colorful and fun. This is so exciting. I'm there virtually.
You are here. Look at this. I mean, everybody's ready and having a good old time. Check it out.
Wow, it's so colorful. Yeah, this is a big event.
It is a big event. It's her first year wedding anniversary. She got married last Halloween. We got bunches of witches. I don't know if you can see any of this.
We can't. It's a little on the dark side, but I see really beautiful lights, and I saw the garage set up there.
We're gonna light it up.
Oh, there, I can see this. Yeah.
All right.
Is that just a cranky person, or is that part of the decoration?
It's a witch.
Okay. All right. Hey, Heidi, I'm over the break line here. Can you hold on for 3 minutes until we come back on the other side?
We sure can.
Okay. Thanks, Heidi. All right. We're going to put Heidi on hold here for a minute, and we'll be back on the flip side. This is Alan B. Smith for Paranormal, now on KGRA Radio. Hang in there. There is so much more fun to come.
Awesome.
I am the ocean the sky. I need to swim free and you need to fly. I live for daylight, you live for the night. You love to wander and I want to be right, but the sweetness in me.
Mainstream media's most wanted. KGRAradio.com.
I'm a mess, but a hot mess. Learning to love all my indiscretions. I've been going and I don't wanna be found. Go on and I don't wanna be found. I live for the night. To walk the line. To walk the day. Gonna live on the light.
Welcome back to Paranormal Now on KGRA. This Halloween night, a full moon Halloween night, is a special night. I thank you for all the friends and family that have called in and hanging with me right here. And now is Heidi Hollis. Hey, Heidi, do you want to hang on while we take a phone call?
Yeah, I can hang on. It's all good. I can hang on.
All right. So, because I'd love to get your, I'd like to get your feedback on here. Let's go. All right.
Okay.
So, Annie, you are on the air.
Hi, Alan. How are you?
Good. How are you? And hanging with us is Heidi Hollis as well.
That's nice. Hi, Heidi. I just have a question. When I was growing up in Paterson, New Jersey, the night before Halloween, we called it Goosey Night. And
Goosey Night.
when we moved down here to South Jersey, it's called Mischief Night. I was just wondering if anybody else in your audience called it Goosey Night.
I don't know, has anyone else heard Goosey Night? Have you, Heidi?
Never heard of that.
No, do we know what
Nope,
that means?
never heard of Goosey Night. I know we have a blue moon.
I don't know what it means either, but that's what we called it.
Right.
Like, could it be maybe goosebumps? And so it's goosey?
Full blue moon. Right.
That sounds like a good reason.
All right. And
Well,
what did you normally do?
Well, we would out with soap, and we would soap up the cars, and we would take. I mean, I never did this, but some of my friends would take eggs and throw them at people's houses, and we would take chalk and write all over the sidewalk in front of people's houses, and throw toilet paper over the branches of the trees. Basically, good mischief, but it was called Goosey Night.
All right. Do you as of late? I mean, are you still into Halloween?
No.
Are you dressed up right now, Annie?
Yes, in my pajamas.
Yeah, right. So not as schnazzed out as Heidi.
No, that's not. I can't see anything. I am only listening. I have no video. So,
Gotcha.
Anyway, okay. Well, thank you for letting me ask my question.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, it's every once in a while, we talk and we get to see each other so little these days. So I'm glad that you called even during the show tonight. I appreciate it.
Well, I enjoyed listening to it, and I enjoyed listening to your father.
All right, me too. Okay, good night, Annie. Love you.
Take care. See you soon. I love you too. Bye-bye.
All right. So, Heidi, earlier I was talking about whether Bigfoot is a, more of a magical, metaphysical interloper or, something that is just a physical being. I know you've had some very interesting experiences with Bigfoot. So where do you stand on what it is?
Are you talking to me, Alan?
I am talking to you.
Hold on a second. I can't hear you. I'm walking away.
Heidi is live in the field.
I am in the field, everybody, and I'm at the coolest Halloween decorated house you would ever come across. Let me tell you.
I mean, I love these lights.
It's amazing. You haven't seen the car. This is a car right here. So, what did you ask me?
Do you think that Bigfoot is a metaphysical interloper, interdimensional rather, or is it a physical being? Oh,
I think he's interdimensional. I think he can come through and be very physical, and also, go between the lines. And I had an experience where I actually witnessed what was either, I don't know, a Bigfoot or a werewolf or whatever it was, manifest and then disappear. Here, I'm going to take my mask off since I'm away from everybody. But yeah, so I had I was invited to go over to this lady's house because she thought her place was haunted, only to see this thing manifest in her kitchen behind her. And me and my friend were looking at her and saw this thing manifest. I jumped up screaming, Bigfoot, and my friend jumped up screaming werewolf. And by the time the lady spun around, it had disappeared. It literally like shimmied into reality and shimmied right out.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Just incredible.
I always forget that your friend said werewolf.
Yeah.
Why would she say that and you say something different?
What was that?
Why would she see something different?
Well, we didn't see the head of it. We just saw this crazy hairy thing appear because the low-hanging cabinets blocked out its head. But we saw the whole shaggy body, and it was really incredible. So we weren't sure what we were looking at.
Now, do you think that werewolves do exist? Can we put them in the same category as Bigfoot?
Well, that's interesting that you say that because I've had several reports over the years of something very much like a werewolf. Yeah, so it's something that I definitely have. I have a belief in exists. What's that? I got a little one here.
Hey.
So yeah. So I had I've had people over the years that would report to me having seen a couple of people transforming into what seemed to be a werewolf, believe it or not. So yeah.
Behind you is that a light that I see up in the sky, or is that the moon?
Oh, it's so distorting where I can barely understand you, Alan. I'm so
sorry. Can you see the moon from where you are?
Yes. Oh my gosh, it's brilliant. Absolutely. It's right there.
That is the moon. Okay. I thought maybe that was a light.
Nope, that's the moon.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
You know what I haven't heard people talk about much lately either is paranormal occurrences spiking on Halloween. Obviously people talk about it on a full moon. So
yeah.
do we expect over the next week to get reports of strange events, do you think?
It does seem that things tend to spike, and I wonder, though, how we give attention to something, and this is like the time of year that we look to the spooky stuff,
yeah.
And it does seem like it, I don't know if it gives more attention, more energy to it. I used to have a UFO paranormal discussion group for many years, and I had people that would come that had never experienced anything, and then by the next month, I'd see them, they experienced something, and it's like, is there a contagion element, or did we just make them more aware? That's the question,
Right. So since we have you, Heidi, we have a question, and it is: do people have more Hatman experiences during Hallows Eve?
That's an interesting question because I don't know. Hold on. Oh, I'm on the phone. Yeah. So sorry about that. I was getting chased a little bit. So I don't think that there's an outright increase. No, I don't. I think there's more risky behavior when it comes to dark things. I know a lot of people get drunk and play with Ouija boards on Halloween versus other times of the year. So I think they do indeed invite potential encounters with such a thing. So yeah, I guess there could be, but I don't know necessarily if there's an increased number.
Yeah. Okay. And so I know you've had like a variation of different paranormal experiences. So my takeaway after all our conversations is that you are just super sensitive, and that I think that some of us are able to kind of peer through the veil a little bit more, whether it's willingly or not.
Yeah.
Do you ever willingly try to peer through the veil and see what's there, or from a spiritual point of view, do you think that that's best not to be done?
I just thought I was unlucky, Alan, but I guess I might be more sensitive. I used to really think that people were fortunate who hadn't experienced a lot of the stuff that I had, because it's kind of fun to be numb to these things. But then, with things increasing the way that they are, it's like these things are placing a bet on us not to figure them out, and they're sticking around when people's guard is down. So it seems like if people knew what was infiltrating in their lives, maybe they could better defend themselves. So I wouldn't necessarily encourage them to do Ouija boards. I would say, I'm never shy to say I'm Christian, and I look into the spiritual battle that's going on with people. So I think it's important that people be prepared just in case of. So not necessarily go digging up graves or doing things, you know what I'm saying? Be prepared just in case, because it's not just a matter of possibly something happening to somebody. It's almost a threat that something's going to happen at some point in their life. So I think it's important that people be aware, spiritually be prepared. And the last conversation I had with you on here with my friend Maureen Seberg, that got pretty interesting, speaking of spiritual warfare, right? And the whole Christian angle.
Yeah.
So it's been something else.
Well, I mean, that's something that I really love about the paranormal community. I mean, for me, I'm for all intents and purposes agnostic. You identify with Christianity. And so, and there's so many of us pagans that have all these different beliefs, and we're all friends. We're all friendly with each other, and we talk about the same things. And there's no tension, as it were. Oh, I think we lost Heidi. All right. Well, hopefully we'll get her back. If not, we'll let her be so that she can enjoy her Halloween party. So what we'll do is we'll go to the next caller. Omara from New York City, you are on the air.
Good evening, Alan. What a fantastic show tonight. And I really enjoyed the segment with your father as well. It was so informative, especially for someone who didn't grow up in the United States and came to Halloween late in life.
Thank you.
Later. I have two stories I could share. And, I have more, but let's start with these. One is more in line with your regular programming about the UFOs and paranormal. It is something that happened in the 90s in, let's say, the southern part of Europe. My father had a friend who was an engineer and who was very excited to accept a job in in, let's say, Russia. It was still kind of part of the USSR, but so it must have been really late 80s or very early 90s.
Okay.
And he went there, and everybody was talking about it. All our family friends were talking about it because he would not share what he's working on. And he said, "I'm so sorry, I can't talk about it." And I guess my family was not used to people withholding information like that and just not sharing what they're working on. And all the family friends, I remember gathering and thinking, what could he be working on? Why couldn't he just tell us the line of work that he is in? It's obviously something to do with engineering, but we never found out. Well, about a year later, he showed up at a gathering, and the way he showed up was really unusual. because everybody was sort of neurotic. I remember that I was I'd say about 10, 11 years old, 12 the most. And it was like a very hush-hush thing, like don't tell anybody he's coming.
Sure.
So he showed up, and I remember it was at our house, and he just said, "I'm coming to say goodbye." He left Russia basically illegally. That he couldn't share everything he's seen, and I remember my parents trying to get me to get out of the room, but I was so excited, and I really liked him a lot. He was always so fun to be around. He always played with the kids. I'm even nervous talking about this now. And so I was by the door going in and out, because my parents would say, "Get out of here." So I would leave, but then come back in. And he said, I remember when he said that, the things I've seen in the sky, you wouldn't believe. And I told him I can't do it anymore.
Wow.
And basically he had to spend the rest of his life living in a certain way, which there are plenty of speculations afterwards what that meant. That meant that maybe he will stay alive but live underground and never have a family or a normal social life. So anyway, I remember this interaction with the family and him saying those things just that I overheard, and there's a lot that my parents didn't share with me. And then I remember him saying goodbye and that he's going to just move to a small village and live a quiet life, and that he's going to go say hi to his mother.
Wow.
And basically he wanted to, he was scared and he was running from the authorities. And he had left Russia, and this is now happening with my parents and friends in a country that is not Russia. So he left that evening, and it wasn't like a casual gathering where people are eating and drinking. It was just extremely filled with anxiety. And I was so confused. So he left, and then we never saw him again or heard from him again.
Oh my gosh. So he had too much information that
the things in the sky.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that was one of the stories, and this is, very late 80s, maybe 1990, I want to say. But we never saw him again. I remember my father taking the trip to drive to the village where his mother lived, and, he knew his parents. He drove there because he couldn't reach them by phone. And it was a long trip, and they never saw him. He never made it. He never made it to his parents' house.
So he clearly had information that was not to be revealed. I guess do we think that he just made the wrong calculation, that he could be trusted to keep that stuff secret and still escape at the same time?
And I think he was a little too confident in how smart he was.
Right.
But he was a nice man too. He always saw, and I had to talk about him like in the past tense, because he may be alive somewhere. I'd like to think that.
Maybe he was super smart. Maybe he just disappeared.
Well, he told everyone, yeah. I mean, I heard that, and everyone was talking about it, that he's going to say he wants to see his mother.
Right.
That he really wanted to do that.
Yeah.
And
that makes sense. I understand that.
His mother was absolutely, I don't think she would have lied to my dad, because he said she was crying and she was hysterical, and she was like, "What do you mean he showed up and he didn't come here?" So that was one of the stories, and yeah, you could take a lot from it, but it was just to share the fear that he lived in for going to work on a secret project in the then USSR.
Yeah.
And he couldn't handle it. It wasn't a matter of how smart you are.
Mm-hmm.
It was just, he was clearly overwhelmed and filled with anxiety. But also by the fact that he obviously ran away. They wouldn't let him leave.
Yeah, there's obviously, I mean, that must have been such super top secret material. I mean, it sounds like he was working on like their version of a secret access program. And that happens sometimes. You hear these stories of people working for the military, and they use ambiguous language, like, dog whistling language. Like, I saw things in the sky. And maybe that's a step too far for some governments. And I can imagine the USSR not being okay with even any kind of loose use of language that could possibly hint towards anything of that scale.
I remember him getting, the way that happened is when you start getting really good in your field at that time, then you get awarded medals and you get recognition, and then you get visited by a government official that says, you have done so well that we feel we can trust you with a very special assignment. Would you consider taking it?
Yeah.
And, you can't reveal, they never tell you everything there is to know. And I have no idea how they handled it at the time, but it was extremely disturbing, and it's something that, my family still thinks about. It's something that we really don't know. We really don't know. I don't think he would have been so cruel as to not send any news to his mother.
Yeah,
but she really, at the time, she was really devastated, genuinely devastated. The other story that I could share, so to move to something different and more in line with Halloween. Once when I spent a night at one of the nights I spent at my grandparents' house, I was sleeping in a small bedroom, and I was awoken in the middle of the night by a baby crying. It was a very clear sound, very audible. And I thought, oh my God, it was just me and my grandparents in the house. And and I thought, this is incredible. I have to go tell my grandparents. And the minute I had that thought, the sound started getting fainter and fainter until it eventually disappeared. And I thought, it must be, I must be dreaming. This is not happening to me.
Yeah.
And I didn't see anything in the room. It woke me up, and it was very, very clear. And so in the morning after, I went to my grandma, and I said, hey, Grandma, you wouldn't believe what happened. And I told her what I heard. And she sat on the bed, and she was just amazed. And she said, this is impossible. And I was like, what's happening? What do you mean? And she said that she had a baby that was born on that day, and he died shortly after. And we never talked about, people having miscarriages in the family and things like that. I never knew that. Up until that point, I didn't know that my mother was not an only child. I mean, she doesn't have any brothers or sisters, and so I thought it was always that way.
Yeah.
But that was very spooky.
That's very eerie. Thank you so much for calling in, Amara.
Of course. Thank you for listening, and have a wonderful rest of the night. Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween. All right, so I'm going to bring on our next caller, Anita, in just a moment. So, Heidi, do you want to hang with Anita, our next caller, as well?
I sure can do that.
All
I'm
right.
showing you the visuals as I'm going down.
I love it. I appreciate it so much. So, Anita from Ontario, you are on the air.
Hi, Alan. Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween. How are you?
Excellent, excellent. Well, my story is about 10 years ago, Halloween Day. I'm in Northern Ontario. I'm heading up to my friend's camp where my trailer is. And it's about a 4-mile drive in a 1-lane country, like camp road.
Okay.
Can't have 2 cars on it. And about 100 feet before I had to turn into my driveway, I stopped the car because this huge owl, I'm talking the biggest owl I've ever seen in my life. The body had to have been more than 3 feet. His wingspan almost touched the tree on the tree line on the side of the road. And he came down from maybe 8 feet in the air and swooped and went right over where my windshield was and went over. And just as he was coming, he dropped a rabbit right in front of my vehicle. I was freaked out, not because of the rabbit, but because of the size of this owl. It was unbelievably large. So I pull up to where I turned because there was a big area there, and I got out of my car and I ran over to where the rabbit was, and it was dead. And I kind of kicked it to where the clearing was because I figured, well, the owl can come back down in a bigger area and grab his. I didn't mean to startle him, but I'm still going, that is so huge. Oh my goodness. So I get into my car, drive in maybe like 20, 30 feet, and I park it. Mm-hmm. And for the life of me, I do not remember the rest of that afternoon. I draw a blank. I remember the incident of the owl, and then my rest of my afternoon was a blank, but I was just unbelievably large. It really spooked me.
Have you talked to other people about having a similar owl sighting?
Well, I haven't spoken to anybody. There was one person who asked me on Facebook if I had, and I mentioned the story, but I haven't talked to anybody really about any other owl incidences. I've heard of people having them, and that's why it resonated with me because it was just so large. It wasn't real. It was beyond large.
So monstrous large.
Yeah, monster large. And that was not like I've had other experiences with seeing UFOs and this and other animals, pardon me. But this will just always stick with me on because I'm not sure how wide the road was, maybe 8 feet to 10 feet wide, and the wingspan was that wide. It was. I know what I was seeing wasn't really real. I'm pretty sure of that.
Well, it reminds me of a couple of things. One, the Mothman. Do you think it could have been the Mothman, or was this clearly an owl, undeniably?
Well, it's with the rabbit, with him dropping the rabbit, it makes me feel like it was a real owl, but the size of it wasn't correct. I mean, even if like a big horned owl, how big they are, and so on. This was like 3 times the size of that for sure. And then with me not remembering, I remember I had to go back home later in the evening, but I don't recall my afternoon. So for me, that's like missing time.
Wow. Okay.
So I'm really not sure.
But that's the scariest part, I think. Yeah, that's the scariest part is the missing time. Did you have any feeling afterwards that seemed misplaced, like feeling a certain way and you don't understand why?
I found myself thinking about it over and over and over again. It was like, why, it was high strangeness for me. And, only due to the fact too is that I've seen other animals in strange circumstances, but this happened to be on Halloween Day, like at maybe 3:00 in the afternoon.
Yeah, and we have.
And I had to. I didn't have a lot of time because I was going to fight. I had to fight the. It was going to be dark soon, so I wanted to get home before dark. So I found myself coming home in the dark, and then I realized, where did my time go? Was I thinking so hard about this incident that I've just lost track of time? It was one of those convoluted moments of time that what happened, you know?
Yeah, well, it's
having troubles hearing you, so I'm not sure.
Yep, no, I can hear you. So again, there's this kind of issue of what is this physical being? Because if a supernatural event occurred, and yet your sighting seemed to be that of a physical being, is the being itself creating the supernatural experience? In this case, missing time, or is there a reason that these two happenings converge at the same time? If you're seeing some sort of strange cryptid, right? Maybe there's some other entity out there that's also interested in this cryptid, and it's almost like all three of you bumped up against each other at the same time.
Yes, perhaps, because I've had an incident with a bald eagle and a dog with a collar, a spiked collar, and a white wolf, all in like dream state. Those were in dream. Well, two were in dream state. One was watching it, and this one was watching it. The owl I was watching it. It flew right past me, like 2 feet away, and I could almost touch it. But I've had like those, but this one is just particular for Halloween.
Yeah, appropriate. And there are reports of Thunderbird, right? I know in some Native American lore, the Thunderbird is believed to be real, but there have been somewhat modern sightings of a Thunderbird. Yes. Do you think it could have maybe been something more like that? It just happened so quick that it kind of looked like an owl in the moment. Do you think it maybe would have been something along the lines of like an eagle or a condor?
No. For the bald eagle, it was a bald eagle with the head was yellow, and with this owl, the owl, it looked like an owl because I watched it, and I watched the rabbit fall from it. It had it in its legs and its claws. I mean, and it dropped, and it looks like but the size of it, and just normally like the animals, I see nature all the time, but this has stuck with me for the past 10 years, and I know deep in my heart that was something else for sure.
That's astounding. Does it scare you knowing you had that experience, or are you okay with that?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
I find everything very fascinating, interesting. I've had many experiences right from early age. I had, many experiences, and like this is that was my fourth one with an animal. So, I've had actually there was another one with a little tiny bird that joined me for half an hour.
Really?
It was very strange also, but,
that's interesting. Do you think it?
I don't think it was an owl.
Do you think that that your energy somehow would attract the bird or something like that? Your state of mind?
I believe so. I remember when I was a child. I recall I was walking with my girlfriend, and I just stopped and I said, my dog has died. And she said, what are you talking about? No. I said, yes, my dog's died. And I started running, and she started running with me. We ran around the block. I live down in Toronto area. And I ran home, I ran in the house, and my mother looks at me and she just said, your dog has died. I just knew it. So like from an early age, I've had a connection, nature, animals. And I mean, with the white wolf coming to me, I was winter camping, and while I had just gone to sleep, It was in January, and all of a sudden I was aware that the tent split open and a white wolf stepped in. He took his mouth and put it around my friend who was with me, around his head, and all the while staring at me hard, like, do you understand what I'm trying to say here?
Yeah.
And he let his mouth go, and he stepped back through the tent, and the tent sealed back up.
Holy cow.
I'm outside. It's not too cold, but it was cold. I had a cigarette, and I'm freaking out, trying not to let my friend wake up, because I'm thinking, oh my God, this is a warning. Oh my God, I've just had a warning from a white wolf. And I have searched what a white wolf means for years and years. That happened about 20 years ago.
Heidi, are you hearing this?
Pardon me?
Heidi Hollis, are you hearing this?
Hey there. I caught some of that. Yeah, I did catch some of that.
What do you think about the white wolf?
Doesn't that seem kind of symbolic or something?
I mean, very much so.
Right. It's like the natives seek a white buffalo, white deer, and
now
we got a white wolf. It's like, what is the significance of that? I wish I better understood if that's like a sign of something.
I feel like it's a guidepost. Rita, did you interpret it to guide you in any particular direction? Were you going through a period of change, maybe in your life or a personal struggle?
Absolutely. I have goosebumps right now, head to toe. That's my signal. The warning was to me that I figured that this person has some issues. I am warning you that there's something at play here. And it turned out within 6 months, I had to leave him because of some very nasty goings on. I'm not going to say what, but
okay.
I had to end the relationship immediately. And I took it as a warning from the beginning. But I didn't know if that was true because I second-guessed myself. And so I searched it. And I always came up with something medical. It had to do with health. But it turned out he had some major issues, like some mental issues. And I heeded it as a warning, and I thank God that I did. So,
Wow.
So you clearly trust your instincts.
That was a great question, Alan, because that does, there you go.
Exactly.
Wow.
Rita, thank you so much for calling in. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Are you a regular listener to KGRA?
I am. Yes, I am. I listen to you guys all the time.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, great.
Oh, that's cool.
Well, thanks for calling in. As of now,
Skywatcher too. Yay!
All right. Have we spoken before, Rita, or I don't remember. Oh, I think we lost Rita. All right, Rita, have a good night. Thank you so much again for coming on and sharing your story. Heidi, I don't know if I ever told you this. Maybe I did on the air, but I don't think in our conversations I have. But my wife and I had an experience once where we were camping, and a noise was heard outside of the tent. And my wife, she's very sensitive and has great instinct, and she got this overwhelming feeling of danger, and wakes me up, and I'm at that point I have to go to the bathroom really bad. Have you ever woke up in the middle of the night, and like you're camping and you're like, oh, I've got to go, but you don't want to walk out the tent and go,
Right.
So it's that, and then now on top of that, I'm made aware of this entity or whatever it is, person walking outside the tent, and it's long strides. Like you can hear the. It's not a prancing or. Right.
Okay.
So, but I have to go to the bathroom so bad, and I'm the kind of person I freak out. I don't like to be closed in and not know what's going on. So maybe it was irrational, maybe it was a bad idea, but I walked out of the tent. And this is in a big open field, and there was nothing there, just nothing there. And there's no dog nearby. There's no deer. Like it was, it was bright enough that I could see around me. And I have no explanation for that. I mean, what would be snooping around the tent.
Oh, that is scary. Wow. It makes me think of something kind of similar that happened to me. But did you get like a mental impression in your mind of what it could be?
Nothing at all.
Huh. Wow. I this world is in layers. I really do believe that. I mean, there's just different realities on top of other realities, and sometimes they bump into each other. I mean, and sorry, I hope I wasn't like too loud with the party and talking really loud here. I was so crazy. I was like, I tried to mute. I hope you didn't hear all that, did you?
No, and I appreciate the visuals. It was nice to get a tour around this party, because so many of us are, we've just resigned to be inside. So it was nice to see all the decor and the celebration.
And it was their first anniversary, so their wedding anniversary. They got married last Halloween, so that's kind of awesome. So, so it's cold out, and I'm like, I had my mask. You saw I had my PPE, and I'm dressed as a super doctor. But yeah, I'll tell you a crazy story. I don't think I've shared this one much either, but it makes me think of what you just shared. My story. So, like, I went to, where the spook lights are in Joplin, Missouri, and my friends are like, familiar with the area. It's like, oh, let's go out here. You have to go out a certain time at night. It's like, so we went out like 2, 3 in the morning or something on this little gravel road, and we're out there, and we're looking for the spook lights. Well, and we're kind of spread out, and we got our flashlights, and we're going down just the gravel road. We weren't like being crazy going in the woods or anything. And the car is a little ways down the road, and I'm ahead of everybody, silly me, and I hear 2 footsteps right in front of me, step crunching on the gravel road, and I'm like, got my flashlight. I'm like, I should be able to see this, and there's nothing there. And then 2 more steps, and it's closer. I'm like, whoa. I'm backing up. 2 more steps, and I'm like, I back up again. I'm like, I can't see this thing, but I can hear it's like just a few feet in front of me. And then it takes quicker steps towards me, Alan, and I'm just like, whoa. And I am in a full run, Alan. And this thing is chasing me. And my friends, I said, something's behind me. My friends all flashed their flashlights. There's like 4 others.
Yeah.
They couldn't see it, but guess what? I parked them, and I'm running through them, and they could hear the footsteps coming after me. And they're all searching, and we do not see this. Do you know what I did, Ellen? The car is right there. I jumped in and slammed it, and it came right up to the door. And again, my friends were all searching. We're like, there's nothing there. And then I'm like, my friends are like, come out. And I'm like, I rolled the window down, and I was like, I got a distinct image in my head of what it was, and so did another one of the people that was with me. And we both thought 2 feet hooved, something small, like the god Pan, like, I don't know, maybe 3, 4 feet tall. Mm-hmm. That's just straight up image. And it wasn't like a flop of a foot. It was like a hooved foot that you could hear on the gravel. So that just came to mind with your story.
But that's the interesting thing is that you got an impression. Have you heard that from other people, getting impressions?
I have, but I have heard that. It's like they get an image in their head. That's what made me wonder if you had with your experience, because man, did I mean, it was a little, I don't even know.
Yeah, it's
so disturbing. It's like
I didn't. It's like, imagine if you heard very clearly someone in your kitchen, right? Maybe you hear them moving like pans or dishes or something, and then you walk into the kitchen and there's no one there. That's what it's like. And I had no vision.
Yeah.
It was just so bizarre.
Alan, I swear you're killing me now, because I had that experience too, like straight up. Like that was my haunted house, like when I was growing up. Like somebody was in the kitchen. Yeah. And it was crazy. Should I tell you real quick what happened there?
Yeah, please.
Okay. So, okay, we knew our house was haunted. I was a kid. I was probably 10 years old. And my dad and stepmom were just done and decided to build a new house, okay? Because It was so haunted. And
That's
me
serious.
and my sister still went to. Yeah, it was that serious. Me and my sister still were going to school near our old house, though. So we would, after school, walk to the old house while the new one was being built until my dad would come pick us up and take us over to the new house, right?
Mm-hmm.
And me and my sister knew you don't go in that house by yourself, you know. So she would wait on the porch for me until I got home, and then we'd walk in the house together and wait for Dad, you know. So I come home, and she's not on the porch. So I'm like, ooh, she must have had to use the bathroom or something, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm coming in with my book bag, and I'm just like, you know, calling her name, like, hey, you here? And I hear her in the kitchen. And I'm like, oh, she's probably grabbing something to eat. I'm like, she's pretty brave, you know. So I'm like, and I hear silverware. And I go into the kitchen. I'm not, you know, I'm just like, hey, I'm here, you know, blah, 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 putting my stuff down.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm looking around the kitchen. I don't see her. But I hear the silverware, and it's in the drawer, and it's rattling. And the whole drawer is vibrating. And I was like, oh, no. It's just like, and I was about to I was turning around to leave, and the drawer pulled open, and silverware came up. Ugh, I get chills. And I go run, and right behind me is the bathroom. So that was our safe place. We go there, and we lock the door, you know. Well, I go in the bathroom, and the door was locked. I'm like, oh, she must be in there, my sister. But right in front of me are the stairs. So I'm like, there's another bathroom on the second floor. So I fly up the stairs, and I go into that bathroom up there. And do you know the freaking silverware was clanging on the door? Dude, I was so petrified. It was horrible.
See,
and I'm sitting. Go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead.
But to finish up, so I was up there forever, and I was terrified. This just seemed to go on forever. This clanging, banging on the freaking door, and I'm by myself. And then I hear my dad comes in, and he's calling my name, and he's like, I'm petrified. I'm not saying a word. It's just like, and then he comes up to the second floor. Heidi, are you here? And he's like pounds on the bathroom door, and I'm just like, I'm not believing it's him because this thing just terrorized me forever.
Yeah.
And I go and I open the door slowly, and my dad's like, why didn't you answer? I'm like, I said, that's silverware. And I'm like, ah! And there was a spoon laying next to the bathroom door. And I'm like, look, it's right there. You know, like, it was terrorizing me, and he was just like, ugh. He forgot my sister had an after-school thing, and I came home to myself. So something locked that bathroom door on the first floor, so I couldn't go into it.
I think that people who have, I think people who have experiences like that when they're younger, are tuned in for the rest of their life. It just seems like from all the conversations, from all the shows that I've listened to, that's what I get.
Yeah.
But Heidi, thank you so much for hanging out with us on Halloween night and at a
Yeah.
party with colors and lights and good people to boot.
I think I served you well tonight. I was like, I'm just going to be close up on everything.
I totally owe you.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad. It was all good. It was fun. They had a good time. They were just like, yay, our anniversary's put on the show. It was cool. All right. Happy Halloween, Alan. You be safe now.
You too. Thank you. Take care, Heidi.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye. All right. So we have our last caller we're going to bring on the air. Neutron from Canada. You are on the air.
Happy COVID
Hey, Neutron,
week.
how are you?
First time we speak.
Indeed.
Hello to everybody in the chat room. I just share very quickly my scariest story, if you're interested.
Sure.
1980, I'm in college. I'm in bed in the basement. Oh, hi, Heidi. Good to see you, too. Okay, I'm in my bedroom sleeping. And I just fallen asleep as far as I'm concerned. It's pitch dark. And I end up falling about 3 to 4 feet in the air onto my bed, waking up this way. My heart is pounding, trying to figure out what was that. It's pitch dark. I get picked up a second time by my T-shirt. It feels like I'm being pulled up, and I get dropped. And as I'm falling this time, I hit my nightlight. It's a big button switch. There's nobody in my room. Nobody under the bed. Nobody in the closet. The door is locked. Like, I don't know what's going on.
And your t-shirt was tugged.
Yeah, it felt like a t-shirt tug. That's one thing that felt physical about it. And let's fast track 30 years later. I'm listening to a radio show, and Cynthia Crawford is talking. And she asks a question. If anybody has an answer, send me an email. I send her an email. It was about DNA. She wants to call me at home. Fine. She calls me at home. We're having a conversation about DNA. In the middle of the sentence, she stops. And I don't know where she changes, because she's a channeler, or she was a channeler. She passed away several years ago. And it wasn't a topic of conversation. And she says, hang on a second, I'm getting a message. She goes, you're an Arcturian. Your people had you visiting them in 1980 and dropped you in bed as a joke, because they're very humorous. They want to know if you enjoyed that. I was stunned. Now I'm trying to figure, okay, I mentioned this story to a few people, and then she says, they also want to know if you liked their light show you saw in the sky 3 days ago, Thursday night. I had not mentioned that to nobody. And that is a scary story.
Do you think that there's things
are... Are you guys there? I can't hear you.
Do you think that it's something that's passed down, like through lineage?
In 1980, I didn't know what this was, and I've been doing 30 years of study following an event, and I believe it's something that was channeled to her, and I don't trust it. I have my belief and evidence on that sometimes it's misleading stuff.
Yeah. Neutron, I appreciate you calling in tonight. I really do. We've seen each other around the chat rooms for a number of years now. So it's really great to hear your voice.
Great. Listen, everybody have fun, and thanks a lot. Good show, Alan. And bye.
Yeah, thank you. And happy Halloween to you. Okay. Have a good night, brother. All right. So that's it. We're going to wrap it up. Okay. So here's the deal. We only have, because not including family members of mine that called in tonight, we have 3 callers. Neutron, Ron, and Rita. So all 3 of you will be entered into this raffle. So what I'm going to do is just crunch these up a little bit into a couple of pieces of paper. And since there's only 3 of them, I'm going to literally drop in my hand like this. This is very uncanny for Paranormal Now, but here we are doing this. So 3 pieces, I will flip like this, drop it like that, flip like this, and now I'm going to pick one, and then whoever that is going to win the free merchandise, and it's Neutron. Neutron, you are the winner tonight. So now, Neutron, if you want to email info@kgrradio.com, or you can private message myself on Facebook through Paranormal Now if you want the merchandise and to have it sent to you. If not, then the next 2 will have to be put up into the raffle, and we'll do it again. So that's pretty awesome. Neutron, for those of you who are not familiar, he's been around for a while in the chat rooms on, we'll say a couple of different stations, and he's always got some great insights and comments that I appreciate, as I do all of the KGRA chat room participants and everybody who's been hanging out here tonight on Halloween. Thank you so much for spending your time with us on KGRA Radio, on YouTube, on Facebook, on the live audio stream on kgrradio.com, and later on the podcast version that you can find on Spreaker on KGRA as well. So thank you once again, friends, family. Special thank you to my father tonight for giving us a little bit of a history on Halloween itself. And I guess that's it. So I'm going to wrap it up here because I'm going over the line. I kind of don't want to let go because it's been fun. But anyway, until next time, I have to thank, as always, our head of operations, Eric Brager, our special producer, Bill Skywatcher, who's helped to make this night possible and all nights. And until next time, everyone, live in the mystery. Happy Halloween.